buyers. They're not going to take you as seriously. You're supposed to know what you're talking about and know your items, so when you do something as far as not checking your spelling, then it can really hurt your chances of selling your item. And make sure you add pictures. This ad right here is someone selling a Rolex watch, which is a high brand watch, and you click on it and there's no picture on it. So not only do they expect you to drive out to meet them and give them $100, they expect you to do that without even seeing the item. So even if they had just one picture, they would have a better chance of selling this watch than this ad right here without a picture at all. Also, list the item's features. This one does a good job with the title. It tells you exactly the model, tells you the price. However, it doesn't tell you where they are. You have no idea what city they're from, if they're close to you, how far you'll have to drive, if you're going to meet them. But when you do click on it, you'll notice that it's got a picture, which is great, but it doesn't tell you anything about the watch. It's $300. We know that much. We also know from the description that the retail price is $450, but it doesn't tell you anything about the watch. Why is it $300? What makes this watch worth $300? So anytime you're selling your item, make sure you talk about it in your description and put all the features that you can think of about it to make someone want to buy it. And don't make your ad personal. This ad is for a 2003 Kia Spectra. And you'll notice it's a lot of words. It's not like the other ads I've showed you where it's just one sentence or two sentences. This one is a full paragraph. And basically, it speaks about the car's hull damage and how bad of a shape it's in. It doesn't say one good thing about this vehicle. Not only does it speak about how bad a shape this car is in, it talks about all the personal attachment this car has with the family, and it's a very personal ad. And then it has some weird sense of humor in there, and I'll actually read you a part of it. It says, "Sometimes I tell them that my kid wanted a little truck instead and had a temper tantrum. Sometimes people believe it, but no, it just got knocked around in a storm about 2 years ago." And then it goes on to say, "I forgot to lock the doors, and I don't think anyone's ever broken in unless some homeless or drunk person has snuck in there." You can't take this ad seriously. I started laughing too. I was like, is this a real ad? Then the person who was writing the ad went on to say, "This is a real ad." No. And then you look at it, and then there's not a single picture on there. So I'm most likely, if I was looking for a car around this price range, I'm just going to bypass this one because this person is weird. I'm not going to buy a car from them because I can't tell if they're serious or not. So things like that you don't want to do. You want to keep your description on point and talk about your item and your item's features and nothing more. And most importantly, the one thing you never ever want to put in your ad is your home address. Your home address is very personal, and that is something you don't want to put in your ad because it is something that makes it unsafe. The transaction can go wrong. And unfortunately, earlier on this year, there was a man by the name of Jim Sanders who posted a diamond ring on Craigslist, and the couple that wanted to buy his ring had his address. He gave him his address, and they came to his house, invaded his home, and took his life. So I'm going to show you a small video clip.
At one time, this man was honored for saving a life. Now he's wanted for taking one. Seattle area police released a nationwide arrest warrant for 23-year-old Clavon Bernard. He's the fourth person sought in a fatal home invasion robbery linked to Craigslist. 3 other people have already been arrested.
We laid out who we thought it was. They cracked and we got the information we needed to go ahead and get the warrant.
Officials say the suspect shot and killed the man during a robbery at his home. They were supposed to be interested in buying an expensive ring that was posted on Craigslist. Instead, they invaded the house, pistol-whipped a teenage boy, and killed the teen's father, James Sanders. 3 suspects fled to California, where a routine traffic stop led to their arrests. Friends of the suspects showed up at a courthouse where a judge signed extradition orders on Wednesday. Investigators are now on the hunt for Bernard, and they're warning anyone who may be helping him.
They'll be going with us, they'll be arrested, and we would expect them to be charged.
Officials say the group is also suspected of being involved in another Seattle area home invasion and robbery. Ed Donahue, The Associated Press.
Okay. Now that's an extreme example of a Craigslist transaction gone wrong. It doesn't happen often, but unfortunately it does happen. When you give out too much personal information, you get comfortable with someone, you want to believe the best in their intentions, things like that can happen. So that goes on to our next subject, which is when and how to meet your buyer. It's okay to meet once you know the buyer is ready to buy. Once they're ready to buy, you can get the transaction over and done with. There's no lingering, there's no hanging around, there's no meeting with them and they're asking you questions. They're ready to buy. It can be a real quick transaction. Every time I've met with a buyer, they've had cash in hand. Any questions they had, we've already discussed it previously, and I was in and out in 5 minutes. That's the kind of transaction you want, okay? Choose when and where you meet. You're the seller, they're the buyer. They want your item. You have what they want, so it is okay for you to choose when and where you meet. Choose during the daytime, always. Never choose at night. If it's, 6 o'clock, but it's still daylight for another 15 minutes, then you don't want to meet. You want to push it up. If that's their work schedule, then try to do it on the weekend or whatever day they're off. Because sometimes people get caught up in traffic, or sometimes they get delayed, and next thing you know, now it's dark, even though when you were going to meet, it was daytime. So always meet during the day. And choose an area you're familiar with, and also choose a public area. You don't want to choose an area that's too big. I've had people say, oh, okay, well, let's meet at Walmart, and I'll say no, and they'll say, why? It's big, it's huge. Well, that's exactly why. It's too big. A place like Walmart, it's so much going on that if something was to go sour, no one would notice it. Security is really low, and on top of that, it's almost impossible to meet in front of the store, get your item out of the car, talk about it for a couple of minutes, exchange cash, without people coming in and out or security telling you to move. So most likely, if you were to meet at Walmart, it'd be in the back of the parking lot, and we all know how big those parking lots are. So I would not recommend that. I would actually recommend a place like Starbucks. It's public. It's a place where it's small, but it's busy. You can park in front of the store and do your transaction, or you can go inside. People go in there and do things all the time. They sit in there for 8 hours, sometimes working. So doing something like a Craigslist transaction would be perfectly fine at a place like Starbucks. Take someone with you. If you don't feel comfortable going by yourself, take someone with you. If you got a friend you can take them along, and that way safety is in numbers. Okay? Most likely the person meeting you is going to have someone with them, so why not have someone with you? If you're selling an oversized item, arrange to have it delivered. The way you can do that is, let's say, go back to my example previously, if you're selling an engine, that's something that's big and heavy, and that's not something you can just pick up and carry by yourself. And if you're by yourself, that's something you might need to have delivered. And that's something you'll talk with your buyer about before it would come time to meeting. You would even see if that was an option from the get-go. And if it is, great. But if they're really wanting to buy it, but they're like, hey, I don't want to deliver it, I need it right now, I will come get it, but you don't want them coming to your house, you can meet up with them in a place like I mentioned, like Starbucks or something like that, and chit-chat with them for a few minutes. Half an hour, however long you can, to get a good vibe from them. If you're not feeling good about it, don't do it. And it's perfectly fine. They should understand that, you don't know them. So they shouldn't get upset, they shouldn't get impatient if you keep asking them questions and just want to talk with them and chit-chat with them a little bit before you take them back to your house to get the item you want. Okay? And if you feel unsure about something, don't do it. If your gut instinct's telling you, I'm not getting a good vibe from this person, then call it off. You say, sorry for your time, thank you for coming out, but I'm not going to sell this item. It's happened to me once. It just happens. So, and it's perfectly understandable. Avoid scams. If you're using email, you're going to get scam email all the time. You're going to get people who are wanting to send you money orders and checks, and they're telling you that they're going to come by and pick it up, or they're going to send some company to come pick it up, and then they're going to ship it and this and that. To avoid to know what emails are real and to know which emails are fake, one thing you can do is tell your consumer to put an exact word in their subject line. And what I always do, if I'm selling auto parts, I'll say, if you're going to respond by email, put Camaro as the subject. That way I know you read this ad. So any email I get that says, oh, about your Craigslist ad, I just automatically delete it, don't even click on it, don't even read it, because they didn't read my ad. If it says Camaro, then I know it's someone who read through my ad. Okay? Do not accept checks. Most of the times those are going to be fraudulent. You also don't want to accept money orders, and you don't want to accept any phone calls, money orders, or checks from international areas. And that's pretty much it. So let's go through the summary real quick of do's and don'ts for Craigslist. Write a clear description and title for your item. Put your exact asking price. Make sure you add pictures. If you can add more than one, that's great. If not, that's fine. Double check your spelling. List your exact price. And make sure there's a way to contact you. Put an email on there or a phone number on there. And list any special instructions you may have for the person buying your item. And do not ever put your home address on there. Don't accept checks. Don't accept emails. And don't accept international customers. And that's it. You're now ready to sell successfully and safely on Craigslist. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to give you all a handout, and it's going to have the summaries that we just went over, okay? There you go. Thank you. Thank you. There you are. Thank you.